Hello and welcome to Warcraft Daily for today, the 19th of December 2013. As always, today's episode is brought to you by the links in the description. Now, for the actual news, well, first of all, we have a whole bunch of, two new actors for the Warcraft movie, then some talk about Legendaries, and some updates about realms and that sort of thing. So first of all, the new actors. Well, this is actually pretty interesting news. So Daniel Wu and Clancy Brown are now in the cast. Daniel Wu is pretty damn experienced. He's been in over 60 films, and not a lot of them have been humongous, but there's been definitely quite a lot of Hong Kong action films in there. And recently he was in the very well-received Europa Report. I haven't seen Europa Report, but actually I read the blurb. It's about people who, like this science team going to Europa, which is one of Jupiter's moons, and actually look kind of cool. So yeah, I'll have a go at that, and it's interesting because Duncan Jones is, prior to this, a sci-fi director, with Moon and Source Code both being science fiction movies, so perhaps he watched Europa and thought, damn, you know, this guy's really good. So I think that's fair enough. In terms of the other movies he's been in, it's kind of like a mixed bag, but I suppose it's like that for a lot of actors, really. Not everyone's in every brilliant movie, but certainly it seems like this guy does have talent. I'll probably end up watching the Europa Report, so after that I might bring you my thoughts on what Daniel Wu is like. So the next guy is Clancy Brown, and it's funny, like you may have not heard of his name, but I'd say you've definitely heard his voice in something. He's a very, very experienced voiceover guy, and he's also done quite a few movies as well. Some of them a little bit poor recently, but he's actually been in a lot of excellent ones. He played the guard captain in The Shawshank Redemption, and he's been in other well-rated movies like The Informant, I think it's Normal Land, Larmine Project, and a few other things. Overall, he has been in quite a few decent movies. He also, more importantly, played friggin' Mr. Krabs in SpongeBob the movie, and I suppose probably SpongeBob the series too, which, as someone who grew up around SpongeBob, and then realised how hilarious it is now that I'm older, that's pretty damn cool. Anyway, so he is also a very well-known voice actor. He's been in a lot of things like The Legend of Korra, Ultimate Spider-Man, Transformers Prime, The Avengers, and a few other things. I'm not really much of an anime guy, so I can't speak to what he was like in many of those, but I suppose it's probably obvious that if he's got so many different television roles as a voice actor, and that's only just a picking, there are far, far more. If he has got so many roles, then he's clearly very talented. He was originally going to play Thrall in the cancelled Lord of the Clans game. So who could Clancy Brown be? Well, I'm thinking he's going to be an orc. And the reason for that is because, well, first of all, they thought that he'd make a great Thrall in Lord of the Clans, so I'd say maybe the orcish voice is there. And then also he's he's a pretty tall, well-built guy. He's kind of, an imposing figure. So I'd say maybe he plays one of the older orcs. Now, the way they're doing orcs, from what I've gathered, is that they are basically fully motion captured. In a lot of detail, and so essentially, like, the actor who plays the orc does very much matter, because the orc is still going to be mapped onto their bone structure and have their emotions and all that. So I think that's definitely very good, and he could play an excellent orc. As for Daniel Wu, I have no idea who he's going to be, really. I suppose it's kind of weird, like, Warcraft is definitely guilty of all of its humans being a bunch of generic white guys, which means that it's kind of hard if you're gonna, from like a casting point in a movie, it's hard to just see, okay, who's this Asian guy going to play, because we don't have any direct parallels to in-game characters. But certainly the guy seems like quite a badass. I watched some of his, just some clips from his action movies, and yeah, as always with like Hong Kong action movies, there's fists flying everywhere, and they're fucking cool. I love them. So yeah, no idea who Daniel Wu is going to play. Perhaps, well, you see, I guess I was thinking maybe he could play a Night Elf, because I know in Warcraft 3, I don't know, they just sort of felt like they sort of fitted, but now that I think about it, I don't think Night Elves are really going to be there much, because, of course, Night Elves hadn't really been discovered by humans back in the Third War, so it'll be interesting to see who this guy plays. I'm actually quite happy with this choice in casting. Clancy Brown, I'd say, with his voice, he'll be able to bring a lot of depth to whatever character he plays. And Daniel Wu, while I can't speak for him personally, it seems like he's probably quite good. He's been in a lot of movies, a lot of experience, and this movie, Europa Report, which I have not seen, does seem to be quite good. And I love sci-fi, so I'll definitely check that out. Anyway, that's the movie news over with. Let's move on to Blue Posts. And really, there's only one here, and it's talking about Legendaries. and they said yeah, they were talking about the legendary cloaks just when they were responding to some guy, and they said that they had learned a great deal in Mists of Pandaria about how to not make it feel grindy. Now, of course, that probably means they learned a great deal from Mists of Pandaria that they should not make it grindy. So let's hope that they do fix this and get rid of it. I suppose one of the most frustrating RNG systems in Mists of Pandaria had. It was just so annoying to have this one thing tied to RNG, especially when it was your legendary item for the expansion, you know? Nothing would suck more than doing an entire Throne of Thunder to only get, like, 1 Mogu Rune of Fate or 2. You know, it just wasn't fun at all. So that's definitely something that needs to be fixed. As for how they could fix that, well, it's kind of hard, because the reason they have RNG is because they want to make your progression feel not random, but they want it, like, every Mogu... they want every Mogu Rune of Fate you get to feel like, oh, yay, that's kind of special, I got a Mogu Rune. But if every single boss were to drop one or something like that, then what would happen is, I think that's Mogu Runes of Fate. Yeah, whatever the pick-upable item thingies are. Now, the problem is that if these were something that you just got like after every boss, it would mean that the progression would be so linear that it wouldn't be fun. This is one of the problems that they have with PvP progression at the minute, where they just feel like it's too deterministic. So it'll be interesting how they blend in the mix of needing to have this to be not random, but at least slightly random or a bit more interesting than it's just being a constant drop. How they're going to mix that in with not making it feel really frustrating and RNG-ish. I suppose this really came to a boil after the Legendary Cloak came out in patch 5.4, because a lot of people who've been screwed over by RNG had a significant DPS loss because they just didn't have access to it. They also said that they are thinking of also having just like a normal sort of Legendary, and that having a Mists of Pandaria style system doesn't prevent them from having a regular class Legendary, perhaps something that's maybe more of a personal challenge like the Fangs. I think this is great, actually, because legendary weapons are really fun, and they haven't really been in the game in Mists of Pandaria, and they're definitely fun. It's something your whole guild gets behind to get for one person, or maybe if it's a personal challenge, then it's that person going out and proving to the world that they're a freaking badass. I'm cool with stuff like that, you know, that's fine. And it's adding in more unique, interesting things. A little bit like how the Green Fire quest was so much fun for Warlocks. I think it's absolutely fantastic that they're at least thinking of adding in things like this. Of course, being a hunter, I totally want a bow because we've not got one since 30L Stars Fury, so, or whatever it was called. I'd like a new bow. But yeah, maybe I'd say go for maybe 3 legendaries for classes, or 2 per expansion. I think that's fair enough. Since the expansion, I'd say will last maybe a year and a half. That, yeah, I'd say maybe 3 or 4, no, not 3 or 4, 2 or 3 would be a pretty good balance. Of course, I'd also like there to be like maybe 1 or 2 class quests as well, for perhaps even for the people who don't get a legendary. I think it's nice to give out these little class-specific things that different people can do, and then make sure over the course of maybe 3 expansions that everyone gets covered. Another thing with transmog, or, well, yeah, with transmog and legendaries that's came up in a few different questions that I've got, is what do I think about them not being transmoggable? And that's definitely an interesting question. I think that, really, I don't have a giant problem either way, but I do think that they should, if I were designing the game, I'd have them so that they're a transmoggable thing, and the reason for that is because a lot of these legendaries took a lot of work, right? And I am really completely okay with somebody who has put in a lot of work, and maybe for something like Shadow, what was it called? Shadow thingy, the axe from ICC, or one of those things. The people that have put in a lot of work, and their guilds have put in a lot of work, that they can actually wear that as a badge of honor in the future, rather than just being the people who hang out in Stormwind with their transmog gear on and their cool mount trying to look flashy. So yeah, I don't really have a problem with that, really. Like, if you've put in the work to get or the Hand of Ragnaros, or whatever it's called, or Thordial, or not Thordial, what do you call it, the big wind lord blade thing, the big electric blade. If you put in the effort to get those, I seriously just don't have a problem with people being able to transmog into them. Also, they make some great transmog sets. Here's a great example, the Onslaught Tier 6. I think it's Tier 6, whatever, the warrior one that you get from Sunwell. It's either the one you get from Sunwell or the one you get from... Actually, no, it's the one you get from the Black Temple tier. That goes perfectly with the Warglades of Azeroth and the Bulwark of Azeroth. My warrior has everything apart from the Warglaive. Of course, my hunter has the Warglaive, but that's just RNG fucking me over. But yeah, I don't have a problem with people being able to make some really cool transmog sets with that. Now, finally, for the news, we have Connected Realms. And, well, Connected Realms and some other things. So, first of all, the Russian and EU players can now finally meet in Battlegrounds. So, yeah, next time you're on Warsong Gulch and you just see, like, maybe 5,000-6,000 T-34 tanks coming over the hills, just run in fear because the Russians are here. Next, we have Connected Realms. So, for the USA on the 23rd of December from 6 AM to 10 AM, Antheron is being added to the Magtheridon Ysondra realm, Daromir is being added to Windrunner, Demon Soul is being added to the Coilfang, Dark Iron, and Dalvingir server, Draka is being added to Suramar, and Velen is being added to Eonar. And then finally, on the 3rd of January, at the same time, Akama is being added to Dragonmaw, Executus is being added to Kalagos, Galakron is being added to Blackhand, Chandris is being added to Bronzebeard, the Forgotten Coast, Balnazar, Gorgonash, and Warsong are being added, and then finally, Undermine and Anvilmar are being added. A lot of servers being added. And this makes me think, there's so many more American servers that are being connected. Is the whole problem of dead servers more exaggerated in America than it is in the EU? Perhaps maybe more, like proportionally more subscribers ended up leaving from America than they did from Europe. Be interesting to find that out. But anyway, this is not really a thing that I'm going to bother looking into today. So that's it for the day's news. If you would like to support the show, please consider using the links in the description. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.